Hello, students. I've been reading your posts for week 4, and it would be good to have a discussion about what the concepts are that are being covered and what the assignment is about. So, we are exploring the concept of simultaneous equations, 1, and 2. In this case, the equations represent straight lines. And then we are trying to apply these concepts to figure out investments and what is earned on those investments. Okay? So let's just refresh our knowledge about what a straight line means. All right. Well, we're trying to apply the concept of straight lines to investments and the returns on those investments. So how does a straight line represent an investment and the return on that investment? Well, what if we treat X as the amount of money we put in an investment, and M as the rate of interest earned on that investment? We can ignore C in this particular example because, well, it's not relevant. You start earning money as soon as you earn interest. So, actually, the two ways I can do this. I can set the value of C to 0, right, to eliminate its impact if I can get this, or I can just remove C as a variable, right, and just leave it like this. And I'll just delete this to keep life simple, right? But in the meantime, I want you to just focus on this particular line. So you put in X amount of dollars into a bank account, say, and the bank pays you an interest rate of M per year. And that means that after 1 year has elapsed, you will have earned Y dollars on the amount that you put in. So let's look at this. I'm going to just click over here, and let's say the interest rate that you had was what? Let's pick 10% per year, which is pretty hefty for a bank account interest rate. And remember, I said represent the interest rate in its decimal form. So 10% per year is 10 over 100 is equal to 0.01. I'm just going to write this out here so to remind you, 10% implies this equal 10 divided by 100 is equal to 0.10. Right? You got that part. Okay. So let's go back and resume our discussion over here. So I've eliminated the C, which is not useful in this particular case. And we're simply left with the slope, the amount of money we put into the bank, and the amount of interest you earn. So if you put $10 into the bank and had an interest rate that of 10%, which is 0.1, and you plotted that straight line, you would get this green line over here. So let's see what we would earn. Now, instead of doing the calculation using a calculator, you can just read it right off the graph. What would we earn if we put in 10%? If we put in $10 at a 10% rate. Okay, so let's go along X to 10, which is here, and then click on the line at that X location, which is if I can get it positioned exactly right, it would be, there we go. It's 10, right? And the Y value corresponding to this 10 is 1, right? So you've earned $1 of interest on the $10 you put in at the end of the year at a 10% per year interest rate. So far, so good? Okay. So Blondie and Dagwood have 200,000. I'm going to call it 200K. You'll see in a moment why. K represents kilo or 1,000. Yeah. So they have 200K or $200,000 to invest. And Blondie and Dagwood want to partition that savings that they have of $200,000 into two and invest them into two investments, because basically they're trying to manage risk. It's a commonplace in business and finance that the amount you earn in return is proportional to the risk that you take. So the greater the risk that you take, the greater the return you earn on an investment, right? But greater risk means that you have a greater chance of losing whatever you put in into that investment. So Blondie and Dagwood don't want to invest all their savings into one thing and ask for a high rate of return and basically lose their shirt if the investment goes under. So they want to partition it into a really safe investment and a riskier investment that gives a higher return. So what they've chosen to do is to put a portion of their investment into a high yield savings account and with a bank and a mutual fund which gives a higher rate of return. The rate of return on the high yield savings account is 3% or 0.03 in decimal form, and on the mutual fund is 10% or 0.10 in decimal form. Okay, why is the high yield savings account safer? Well, if it is an FDIC insured account, that is the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. What that means, what that insurance means, is that if the bank goes under for some reason and loses all its money, it goes bankrupt, you will have not lost your money, right? Because the US government will step in and ensure that you get your money back, right? This is a service that the government provides, and it's one of the reasons, well, why it's nice to have a government that provides these kinds of services, right? Basically, okay, so let's go from there. When you invest your money in a quote-unquote private corporation, and that account or that investment is not FDIC insured, it means that if that investment goes under or if that company goes bankrupt, you will have lost all your money. You don't have a recourse. You can file a lawsuit and get in line with all the other creditors who want their money back. And well, I mean, it's a long process, and you may or may not get your money back. Remember that this FTX collapse in the crypto empire just recently? Well, many of the people who had their money invested in that are in a difficult spot right now, let's just say. Okay, so Blondie and Dagwood want to put some money in an FDIC insured account, which has a high interest rate, relatively speaking, of 3%, and a riskier investment, which has a yet higher interest rate of 10%, right? But they don't want to take a risk on losing all their money, so that's why they're partitioning their savings account. Okay, one more thing to note. I have a couple of mistakes in this discussion, and either you didn't catch them, or you caught them, or were too polite to tell me that there were mistakes. Okay, in future, if you find a mistake, let me know. I'd like to have correct stuff out there, right, for you to work on. And it also shows me that you're reading it the assignment carefully. Okay, I'll point out the mistakes as we go along, but for the moment, let's just keep going. Right. So to refresh your memory, we talked about a straight line representing an investment, and the way it does this is by using the x variable as the amount of money to be invested, by using the slope of the line here to represent the interest earned from that investment, and then y is the amount of interest earned along the y-axis. Okay, so if you have two investments, you can represent them by two straight lines like so, right? So my first investment, and let's choose the interest rate on the high yield account, which was come on, I can do this. We'll just do this, right? A whole lot easier than me trying to manipulate the mouse pointer. Okay, so you can see the slope of the green line is pretty low as compared to the red line, which represents the mutual fund investment, which has an interest rate return of 10% or 0.1. All right. So you're earning less interest. You put in 10K, right? And you get, what is this? Sorry, not 10K, $10, and you get 30 cents back, right? Here you put in $10 and you get, a dollar back at the 10% interest rate. But as I mentioned earlier, in terms of security, the bank goes under, you get your $10 back, presumably plus any interest you've earned. The mutual fund company goes under and hey, you're out $10. Whatever you put in is gone. It's wiped out, right? And that's the difference between a government insured FDI, that is Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation insured account, and a non-insured account. Okay, so it's great that we have two investments represented by two straight lines, but so what? How does that help us? Well, what is the problem that we are trying to solve? The problem that we are trying to solve, if you go back here, is that Blondie and Dagwood want to invest their money into two separate investments at different interest rates because they're trying to manage their risk or their downside. Yet, there's one other thing. They also want to be able to earn an interest of about $7,000 per year combined on those two investments, right? Okay, so one, we have two investments at two interest rates, and number two, we want to earn $7,000 in interest combined from both of those investments. Okay, great. So now what?